The year is 1967, and the Middle East stands at a crossroads after the lightning strike of the Six-Day War. Israel, victorious yet burdened with ruling 1 million Palestinians, faces a storm ahead. Refugees rally under the PLO's call, while Egypt, Syria, and Jordan plot their next moves. Superpowers loom as war and peace hang in the balance. This is Chapter 6, Occupation, Resistance and Hope from 1967 to 1982. Welcome to the deep chapter. Let's dive in.
Shadows of Victory, 1967 to 1970. June 1967. The air over Jerusalem is thick with the echoes of war jet engines fading. The crackle of radios and the stunned silence of a region transformed. In 6 days, Israel has tripled its territory, seizing the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and Golan Heights. The Six-Day War, a lightning strike of military precision, has left Israel victorious, but burdened with new realities. Over 1 million Palestinians under its control, restless Arab neighbors, and a world watching closely. For the vanquished Palestinians, Egyptians, Jordanians, Syrians, the defeat, dubbed the Naksa, or setback, ignites a fire of resistance. This is the story of the immediate aftermath, a time of dreams tested, loyalties strained, and a land caught between hope and despair. The weight of victory, Jerusalem. June 12, 1967, the sun beats down on the old city, its ancient stones glowing under a cloudless sky. Captain Avi Cohen, a 28-year-old paratrooper, stands atop Mount Scopus, his uniform dusty from the war's final days. At a low, the Dome of the Rock gleams, now under Israeli control. Avi's heart swells with pride. He was among the soldiers who captured East Jerusalem, fulfilling a dream his grandfather spoke of in their cramped Tel Aviv apartment. M. Yisrael Chayavi whispers, clutching his rifle. The war's end feels like a miracle. Israel, a nation of just 2.7 million, has defeated armies 10 times its size. But as he gazes at the crowded streets of East Jerusalem, where Palestinian families move warily under IDF patrols, unease creeps in. What now? He mutters. His commander, Major General Uzi Narkis, had warned the brigade. Victory is one thing, holding it is another. At the Knesset, Prime Minister Levi Eshkol meets with his cabinet. The room buzzes with debate. Defense Minister Moshe Dayan, his eye patch a stark reminder of past battles, argues for strategic settlements in the Jordan Valley to secure the borders. We've won the land, he says, but we must anchor it. Religious Zionists like Rabbi Zevi Yehuda Kook push for settlements in Judea and Samaria, claiming a biblical mandate. Ishkal, cautious nods. We'll build slowly, he says, but we must govern justly. By late 1967, the Allen Plan emerges, proposing Israeli control over the Jordan Valley and Key West Bank areas, while returning populated regions to Jordan. Avi is reassigned to Hebron, where settlers establish Kiryat Arba, the first outpost. He watches as bulldozers clear land near Palestinian homes, their owners glaring from doorways. This is our home, a settler tells Avi, planting a flag. Avi wonders if peace is slipping away. Baca Camp Jordan, July 1967. Across the Jordan River, in the sprawling Baca refugee camp, 19-year-old Layla Hassan kneels beside her mother, Fatima, in a tent that smells of dust and despair. The Six-Day War has forced them from their village in the West Bank. Their second displacement since the Nakba of 1948, Layla's father, Farma, died in the fighting, leaving them with nothing but memories of olive groves near Ramallah. Layla will return, Fatima says, clutching a faded key to their old home. Layla nods, but her eyes burn with anger. The camp, home to 50,000 refugees, is a maze of tents and tin shacks, serviced by UNRWA rations. At night, Layla hears whispers of resistance, young men speaking of FOTA, a group promising to fight for Palestine. Oh, she means Sakil, a 22-year-old FOTA recruit who hands her a pamphlet. We're done waiting for Arab armies, he says. We'll take back our land ourselves. Layla joins Fatah's youth wing, learning to distribute supplies and relay messages. By 1968, Fatah, led by Yasser Arafat, takes control of the POL, shifting its focus to armed struggle. Layla's first mission is to smuggle leaflets across the Jordan River, urging Palestinians to resist. This is our fight, Khalil tells her, his rifle slung over his shoulder. Karam will show them. Cairo, August 1967, in Cairo. President Gamal Abdel Nasser stands before a crowd of thousands, his voice steady despite the sting of defeat. The loss of Sinai and Gaza has shaken Egypt, but Nasser's charisma holds firm. "We will not bow," he declares, announcing Egypt's acceptance of UN Resolution 242, which calls for Israeli withdrawal in exchange for peace. Privately, he tells aides, "We'll fight another way on our terms." Nasser meets with Soviet advisors, securing $500 million in arms tanks, MiG-21s, and SAM missiles. In his office, he studies maps of the Suez Canal, plotting a war of attrition to pressure Israel. Colonel Ahmed, a young officer, is tasked with organizing commando raids. "Hit their outposts," Nasser orders. "Make them feel the cost of occupation." Ahmed nods, aware that Egypt's pride hangs in the balance. Resistance and retaliation. Karameh, Jordan, March 21, 1968. Dawn breaks over the Jordan Valley where the village of Karameh sits, amid refugee camps. Layla huddles in a trench with Khalil and 300 Fatah fighters, their rifles ready. Across the river, Israeli tanks rumble, launching a raid to destroy Fatah's base. "Al-Dayday. They think we're weak," Khalil whispers. "Let's prove them wrong." This Battle of Karameh erupts as Israeli forces cross the Allenby Bridge. Fatah fighters, backed by Jordanian artillery, hold their ground, firing RPGs and machine guns. Layla, heart pounding, passes ammunition to Khalil. The battle lasts hours, with 28 Israelis and 100 Palestinians killed. Israel destroys the camp, but withdraws under fire. A rare retreat. For Layla, it's a moment of defiance. "We fought back," she says, tears mixing with dust. Karam becomes a rallying cry, swelling Fatah's ranks to 10,000 by 1970. Israel responds with airstrikes on Jordanian camps, killing dozens of civilians. Avi, now stationed in the West Bank, hears of Karam and feels a chill. "We're not running anymore," he tells his comrade Yossi. The IDF tightens control, imposing curfews and checkpoints. Avi searches Palestinian homes in Hebron, finding Fatah pamphlets. "This won't end easily," he mutters. Damascus, Syria, April 1968. In Damascus, General Mustafa Tlous, a rising Ba'athist officer, briefs President Nuruddin al-Atassi on Syria's strategy. The loss of the Golan Heights burns in Syria's collective memory, and the regime sees Palestinian resistance as a tool. Fatah and the PFLP will keep Israel bleeding, Tlous says, pointing to a map. "We'll arm them." Syria provides bases for the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, led by George Habash, which launches raids into Israel's Upper Galilee. Tlous oversees shipments of Soviet AK-47s and mortars to Palestinian camps. The PFLP's bold tactics, including a 1968 bus bombing in Israel that kills 4, provoked fierce Israeli reprisals. Airstrikes hit Syrian villages, killing 20 civilians. Tlous fumes, they think they're untouchable. Syria's military grows to 80,000 by 1970, but internal instability limits its effectiveness. Nazareth, Israel, June 1968. In Nazareth, 25-year-old Samira, a Palestinian teacher and daughter of 1948 survivors, navigates life as an Israeli citizen. The war's aftermath has strengthened her community's resolve. With 200,000 Palestinian citizens forming cultural groups and supporting Raqqa, the communist faction, Samira attends a poetry reading by Mahmoud Darwish, whose verses lament the Naksa. "We are still here," she whispers to her friend, Rami. Samira faces discrimination, her school's funding is cut, and her brother's land is seized for a Jewish settlement. At a Raqqa meeting, she hears calls for equal rights. "We're citizens, but not equal," Rami says. Samira joins protests, risking arrest. When Israel annexes East Jerusalem, she visits relatives there, passing IDF checkpoints. "This is our city too," she tells an officer, her voice steady but defiant. He world watches Amman, Jordan. September 1970, Layla's life in Baca changes as the PLO's power grows, turning Jordan into a battleground. By 1970, the PLO operates as a state within a state, with 15,000 fighters controlling camps. King Hussein, wary of losing control, clashes with the PLO. Layla hears gunfire in Amman as Jordan's army moves in, sparking Black September. The conflict is brutal: tanks, shell camps, and Layla hides with her mother as 3,000 to 5,000 Palestinians die. Khalil is wounded, whispering, "We'll fight from Lebanon." The PLO is expelled to Lebanon, where Layla follows, joining a camp in Sidon. "Jordan betrayed us," she tells Khalil, "but we won't stop." The move to Lebanon sets the stage for new conflicts as the PLO rebuilds in Fataland. New York, November 1967 at the UN. Ambassador Arthur Goldberg of the U.S. pushes Resolution 242, calling for Israeli withdrawal from occupied territories in exchange for peace. In a smoky conference room, Egyptian diplomat Mahmoud Riyad argues, full withdrawal or no deal. Israel's Abba Eban counters, security first. The resolution passes, but its vague wording, omitting all territories, dooms implementation. The U.S. increases aid to Israel, reaching $100 million annually, while the Soviet Union delivers $500 million in arms to Egypt and Syria. The Cold War splits the region, with superpowers fueling the arms race. Gun envoy Gunnar Jarring tries to mediate, but talks stall as Israel builds settlements and Arab states demand total withdrawal. Sinai, Egypt, March 1969. Colonel Ahmed stands on the Suez Canal's banks, watching Egyptian artillery fire on Israel's Barlef line. The war of attrition has begun, a grinding campaign to wear down Israel. They'll tire, Ahmed tells his men, loading shells. Across the canal, Avi, now a reservist, ducks as explosions rock his outpost. Israel responds with airstrikes, hitting Egyptian villages and killing 50 civilians. The war claims 1,424 Israeli and 5,000 Egyptian lives by 1970. Ahmed sees friends fall, but Nasser's orders are clear. Keep the pressure. Avi Weary wonders, how long can this last? The U.S. brokers a ceasefire in August 1970, but Egypt moves missiles closer to the canal, signaling the fight is far from over. A land divided. By 1970, the Middle East is a tinderbox. Avi patrols Hebron, watching settlers expand Kiryat Arba, while Palestinian families are evicted. He questions the occupation's cost, yet feels bound by duty. Layla, in Lebanon's Sidon camp, trains with Fatah, her resolve hardened by Karameh and Black September. "This is our land," she tells Khalil, clutching a rifle. Samira, in Nazareth, teaches her students about resilience, hiding Darwish's poems from censors. In Cairo, Ahmed prepares for the next phase, as Nasser's death shifts Egypt's path. The occupation entrenches Israel's control, but sows seeds of resistance. The PLO's rise signals a new Palestinian voice, while Arab states, divided yet defiant, rearm for future battles. The world, split by Cold War lines, watches as Resolution 242 gathers dust. The stage is set for the war of attrition and beyond, a story of dreams tested and a land on the brink. The Fire That Never Fades, 1968 to 1973. A Relentless Struggle, the Middle East, 1968. The euphoria and despair of the 1967 Six-Day War linger like smoke over a smoldering battlefield. Israel, now an occupier of vast territories, fortifies its grip on the West Bank, Gaza, Sinai, and the Golan Heights, while its people grapple with the cost of victory. Across the Suez Canal, Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser launches a grinding war to reclaim lost pride and land. In Jordan and Lebanon, Palestinian fighters, emboldened by the PLO's rise, strike at Israel, refusing to let their cause fade. The world, divided by Cold War rivalries, watches as diplomats chase elusive peace. This is the story of the war of attrition and the diplomatic dance that followed, a tale of defiance, sacrifice, and a region teetering on the edge of another storm. The canal burns. Suez Canal, Egypt, March 1968. The night is heavy with the scent of diesel and gunpowder along the Suez Canal. Colonel Ahmed Fathi, 32, crouches in an Egyptian bunker, his face lit by the flicker of artillery fire. Across the water, Israel's Barlef line, a chain of concrete fortifications, looms like a taunt. Ahmed's men load 122mm shells, their hands steady despite the roar of Israeli jets overhead. President Nasser's orders were clear: make them bleed for Sinai. The war of attrition has begun, a relentless campaign to wear down Israel's resolve. Fire, Ahmad shouts, and the cannon erupts. sending shells crashing into the Barlef line, 50 miles away in an Israeli outpost. Captain Avi Cohen, now 29, ducks as shrapnel rains down. The paratrooper who captured Jerusalem in 1967 now mans a desert fortress, his radio crackling with reports of Egyptian raids. "They hit us day and night," Avi tells his friend Yossi, wiping sweat from his brow. "How long can we hold this line?" Egypt's strategy is simple but brutal. Bombard Israeli positions, launch commando raids, and disrupt their control of Sinai. By 1969, Ahmed's unit has fired over 5,000 shells, killing 70 Israelis and wounding hundreds. Soviet advisors, their uniforms crisp, inspect Ahmed's position, delivering SAM-2 missiles that challenge Israel's air superiority. "These will change everything," a Soviet officer promises. Ahmed nods, but the faces of fallen comrades haunt him. Israel responds with ferocity. Avi joins Operation Priya, a series of airstrikes targeting Egyptian bases deep in the Nile Delta. In January 1970, Israeli F-4 Phantoms bomb a military depot near Cairo, killing 50 Egyptian soldiers. Ahmed, visiting the site, sees smoldering wreckage and vows, "They'll pay for this." The war's toll mounts. 1,424 Israeli and over 5,000 Egyptian lives by 1970, with civilians caught in the crossfire. Tel Aviv, Israel, April 1969. It's in a Tel Aviv cafe. Avi meets his sister Miriam, a schoolteacher who joined a kibbutz after the war. The radio blares news of another Egyptian shelling, and Miriam's eyes darken. "This war never ends," she says, stirring her coffee. "We won in 67. But now what? More graves?" Avi, hardened by months at the canal, shrugs. "We hold the line, or they overrun us." At the Knesset, Prime Minister Levi Eshkol faces pressure. The war of attrition drains resources, with the Bar-Lef line costing $500 million. Defense Minister Moshe Dayan pushes for escalation, arguing, "We hit harder, they'll break." But Eshkol, wary of Soviet involvement, seeks a ceasefire. "We can't fight forever," he tells his cabinet. The IDF bolsters its arsenal with US-supplied M60 tanks, but losses mount 15 aircraft to Egypt's missiles by 1970. Miriam joins a peace rally. A small but growing movement. "We need to talk, not bomb," she tells Avi, handing him a flyer. B, torn between duty and doubt, keeps it in his pocket. The occupation weighs heavily. 15 settlements now. The West Bank, home to 2,000 Israelis, while Palestinian protests in Hebron and Nablus are met with curfews and arrests. The Palestinian Flame, Sidon, Lebanon, June 1969. In a refugee camp in Sidon, Lebanon, Layla Hassan, now 21, trains with a Kalashnikov under the watchful eye of Khalil, her Fatah comrade from Karam. The PLO's expulsion from Jordan after Black September has made Lebanon their new stronghold, dubbed Fotland. Layla's hands tremble as she fires, but her resolve is iron. "This is for Ramallah," she whispers, picturing her lost home. The 1969 Cairo Agreement grants the PLO autonomy in Lebanon's camps, allowing 15,000 fighters to operate freely. Layla joins a raid across the border, targeting an Israeli kibbutz in the Galilee. "We hit them where they feel safe," Khalil says, planting explosives. The raid kills 2 Israeli soldiers, but Israel retaliates with airstrikes, leveling a Sidon camp and killing 30 civilians. Layla, hiding in a ditch, sees a child's shoe amid the rubble and chokes back tears. "Is this what resistance costs?" She asks Khalil. He grips her shoulder. "It's the price of freedom." The PFLP, led by George Habash, takes a bolder approach. In September 1970, Layla hears of their audacious move, hijacking 4 planes at Dawson's Field, Jordan, and blowing them up after releasing passengers. The world gasps, and the PLO's name echoes globally. But the hijackings spark Jordan's wrath, leading to Black September's bloody expulsion of the PLO. Layla, now in Lebanon, vows, "We'll fight from here. Palestine lives in us." Amman, Jordan, September 1970. In Amman, Captain Omar, a Jordanian officer, patrols the streets as tanks roll through Palestinian camps. King Hussein's patience with the PLO has snapped. Their state within a state threatens his rule. Omar, whose brother died in 1967, sympathizes with the Palestinians, but follows orders. They brought this on themselves, he tells a fellow soldier, watching smoke rise from Zarqa camp. The Black September conflict kills 3,000 to 5,000 Palestinians. With Jordanian forces expelling the PLO, Omar finds a Fatah pamphlet, its words haunting, "We will return." He wonders if Jordan's victory is a loss for the Arab cause. King Hussein, meeting with advisors, defends his actions. "I saved Jordan from chaos." But the Palestinian exodus to Lebanon shifts the conflict's center, setting the stage for new battles. The elusive peace, New York, UN headquarters, December 1969. At the United Nations, U.S. Ambassador Charles Yost pushes the Rogers Plan, a U.S. initiative to implement Resolution 242. In a tense meeting, Egyptian diplomat Mahmoud Riyad demands Israel must leave all territories. Israel's Abba Eban retorts, "Peace first, then we talk borders." The plan proposes Israeli withdrawal for Arab recognition, but both sides balk. Yost, frustrated, tells aides they'd rather fight than compromise. The U.S. increases aid to Israel, reaching $100 million annually, while the Soviet Union delivers $1 billion in arms to Egypt and Syria. An envoy Gunnar Jarring shuttles between capitals, but his mission stalls. In a Cairo cafe, Ahmed reads of Jarring's failure and mutters, "Words won't free Sinai." In Tel Aviv, Miriam attends a peace lecture, clutching Jarring's report. "If we don't talk, we'll all lose," she tells a friend. Cairo, September 1970. Ahmed stands at attention as Nasser's funeral procession passes through Cairo's streets, millions mourning the Penarbus leader. Nasser's death in September 1970 shocks the Arab world, and Anwar Sadat, his successor, steps into a fractured legacy. In a meeting with Soviet advisors, Sadat outlines a new path. "We'll fight, but we'll also talk." He proposes a partial Israeli withdrawal from Sinai, offering to reopen the Suez Canal. Israel, under Eshkol's successor Golda Meir, rejects the offer, wary of weakening its position. Ahmad promoted to major overseas missile placements along the canal, violating the August 1970 ceasefire brokered by the Rogers Plan. "This is our leverage," he tells his men, watching Soviet SAM-3s South roll in. Across the canal, Avi hears of Egypt's move and curses. "They never stop," he tells Yossi, preparing for another tour. The ceasefire holds, but the war's shadow looms. Nazareth, Israel, May 1971. In Nazareth, Samira, now 28, teaches history to Palestinian students, slipping Darwish's poems into lessons despite censorship. The occupation tightens, with 20 West Bank settlements by 1971, housing 3,000 Israelis. Samira's cousin in Nablus is arrested for protesting land seizures. "We're citizens, but strangers in our own land," she tells Rami, her Raqqa comrade. Samira joins a demonstration in Jerusalem, chanting for equal rights. Soldiers disperse the crowd with tear gas, and Samira coughs, eyes stinging. "This is our fight too," she tells Rami, who nods, clutching a Raqqa flyer. Palestinian citizens, now 250,000, grow bolder. With Raqqa winning local elections in Arab towns, Samira dreams of a state where her students can thrive, but the occupation's grip tightens. A storm on the horizon by 1973, the Middle East is a powder keg. Avi, scarred by the canal's relentless shelling, returns to Tel Aviv, questioning the war's cost. "We're strong, but for what?" asks Miriam, who hands him a peace petition. In Lebanon, Layla plans another raid, her heart heavy with the losses of Black September. "Palestine is worth it," she tells Khalil, loading a rifle. In Cairo, Ahmed trains for the next war, as Sadat whispers of a bold strike. In Nazareth, Samira writes to her cousin, vowing, "We'll keep fighting for justice." The war of attrition ends in stalemate, with 1,424 Israeli and 5,000 Egyptian lives lost, but no territory gained. Palestinian militancy grows, with the PLO's move to Lebanon sparking new fronts. Diplomatic efforts, like the Rogers Plan, falter, as Israel and Arab states cling to their demands. The US and Soviet Union fuel the arms race. With $2 billion in Soviet arms to Egypt and Syria by 1973, the stage is set for the Yom Kippur War, reckoning that will shake the region to its core. This is a story of endurance, defiance, and a land where peace remains a distant hope. The Shattered Shield, 1973 to 1977. A Fragile Calm, October 1973. The Middle East simmers under a deceptive quiet. The scars of the 1967 Six-Day War and the War of Attrition etched into its landscapes and souls. Israel, confident in its military prowess, holds the West Bank, Gaza, Sinai, and the Golan Heights, but its people sense an uneasy horizon. Egypt and Syria, humiliated by past defeats, plot a bold strike to reclaim their pride and territories. Palestinian fighters scattered across Lebanon and Jordan carry the torch of resistance while the world, caught in Cold War currents, watches with bated breath. This is the story of the Yom Kippur War clash that shattered illusions, reshaped alliances, and set the stage for a fragile hope for peace. The storm breaks. Suez Canal, Egypt, October 6, 1973. The sun dips low over the Suez Canal, casting long shadows on the Egyptian side. Major Ahmed Fathi, now 37, adjusts his binoculars, his heart pounding with anticipation. It's Yom Kippur, Israel's holiest day, and the canal is eerily still. President Anwar Sadat's plan, whispered in secret meetings, is about to unfold. Today, we take back what's ours, Ahmed tells his men, their faces set with resolve. At 2:00 p.m., Egyptian artillery roars, 2,000 shells slamming into Israel's Barlef line. Commandos cross the canal in rubber boats, breaching fortifications with water cannons and explosives. Across the water, Captain Avi Cohen, 34, scrambles into a bunker as alarms blare. The Barlef line, once a symbol of Israel's strength, crumbles under Egypt's onslaught. "They're crossing," Avi shouts, radioing for air support. But Egyptian SAM-6 missiles, Soviets applied, down 10 Israeli jets in hours. A V's unit, outnumbered, fights desperately, losing 30 men by nightfall. "Where's the Air Force?" his friend Yossi gasps, blood staining his uniform. In the Golan Heights, Syrian tanks surge forward, 1,200 strong, overwhelming Israel's 180. Colonel Mustafa, a Syrian officer, leads the charge, his T-62 tank rumbling toward Quneitra for the Golan. He yells, firing on Israeli positions. By October 7th, Egypt controls the canal's east bank, and Syria captures half the Golan. Israel, caught off guard, reels from intelligence failures. Tel Aviv, Israel, October 7th, 1973 in Tel Aviv. Prime Minister Golda Meir, 75, sits in a smoke-filled war room, her face grim. Defense Minister Moshe Dayan warns, "We're losing ground." Intelligence had dismissed Egyptian maneuvers as exercises, a catastrophic miscalculation. Meir, chain-smoking, orders full mobilization. 200,000 reservists flood the fronts. Avi, recalled from leave, kisses his sister Miriam goodbye. "We'll hold them," he promises, though doubt gnaws at him. At a kibbutz near Haifa, Miriam, now 30, organizes medical supplies as sirens wail. "This isn't 67, she tells a friend, fear in her eyes. "They're stronger now." Israel's Air Force, battered by missiles, struggles to regain control. October 10th, the IDF counterattacks, retaking the Golan with heavy losses, 400 tanks destroyed. In Sinai, General Ariel Sharon leads a daring crossing, encircling Egypt's Third Army by October 16th. Avi, fighting in Sharon's unit, sees bodies littering the desert. "We're winning, but at what cost?" he mutters. The cost of war. Cairo, Egypt, October 12, 1973. In Cairo, Ahmed stands amid cheering crowds, Egypt's flag raised over Sinai's east bank. Sadat's gamble has restored national pride, but the war grinds on. Ahmed's brother, a pilot, was shot down, and grief fuels his resolve. "We've shown them we're not broken," he tells his commander. Sadat, in a broadcast, declares Egypt has risen. But Soviet advisors warn, Israel's crossing the canal. We need more. The war's toll is staggering. 15,000 to 20,000 Arab casualties, 2,800 Israelis. Ahmed sees villages near Ismailia reduced to rubble by Israeli airstrikes, 100 civilians dead. In the Golan, Mustafa's unit retreats under Israeli fire, losing 500 tanks. "They fought well," he tells a wounded soldier, "but they're relentless." By October 25th, a UN-brokered ceasefire halts the fighting, leaving Israel encircling Egypt's Third Army and holding the Golan. Amman, Jordan, October 1973. In Amman, Captain Omar, 29, watches the war from the sidelines. Jordan, wary of another defeat, sends a token force to the Golan, but avoids major combat. King Hussein meets with advisors, urging restraint. "We lost the West Bank in '67, he says. "Can't lose more." Omar, stationed near a refugee camp, hears Palestinians curse Jordan's caution. "You abandoned us." A young man shouts, throwing a stone. Layla Hassan, now 25, is in Lebanon's Sidon camp, listening to radio reports of the war. The PLO, sidelined in the fighting, sees opportunity in Arab gains. Egypt and Syria struck a blow. Layla tells Khalil, her Fatah comrade. "Now, it's our turn." The PLO intensifies raids, targeting Israeli settlements. Layla joins a mission in the Galilee, planting explosives that kill 3 soldiers. Israel retaliates, bombing Sidon, killing 40 civilians. Layla, hiding in a basement, vows, "We'll keep fighting." Scene 3. Nazareth, Israel, October 1973. In Nazareth, Samira, 30, teaches her students by candlelight, power cut by war shortages. Palestinian citizens, now 300,000, feel the war's weight. "We're caught between sides," Samira tells Rami, her Raqqa comrade. The occupation tightens, with 30 West Bank settlements by 1973, housing 5,000 Israelis. Samira's uncle in Hebron loses his orchard to a settlement, and she joins a protest, chanting, "No more land theft." IDF soldiers fire tear gas, and Samira coughs, defiant. Raqqa gains support, winning 20% of Arab votes in local elections. Samira distributes leaflets, risking arrest. "We're Israelis, but Palestinians too," she tells Rami. The war's Arab successes inspire hope, but Israel's victory dashes it. "They'll never give us equality," Rami says, reading of Sharon's canal crossing. The aftermath. Scene 1. Tel Aviv, April 1974. The war's end leaves Israel shaken. Avi returns home, haunted by the desert's carnage. The Agronaut Commission, probing the war's failures, blames military intelligence, forcing resignations. Golda Meir, exhausted, steps down, and Yitzhak Rabin becomes prime minister. "We won, but we're not invincible," Avi tells Miriam, who nods, clutching a peace petition. "We need to end this cycle," she says. The war cost Israel 2,800 lives and $10 billion, straining the economy. The U.S. provides a $2.2 billion aid package, cementing the alliance. Miriam joins the Peace Now movement, rallying for negotiations. "Sinai, the West Bank, it's too much to hold," she argues at a meeting. Avi, skeptical, keeps his rifle close, stationed in the West Bank, where protests flare. Cairo, January 1974. Ahmed, promoted to lieutenant colonel, stands on the Suez Canal as U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger mediates the Sinai Agreement. Israel withdraws from the canal's West Bank, and a UN buffer zone is established. "We regained our honor," Ahmed tells his men, though Sinai remains occupied. Sadat, hailed as a hero, pushes for more, signing Sinai II in 1975, returning oil fields for further Israeli pullbacks. The 1973 oil embargo, led by OPEC's Arab states, quadruples oil prices, pressuring the West. Ahmed hears of Europe's fuel shortages and smiles. "They feel our strength now," he says. Egypt's Soviet ties weaken as Sadat tilts toward the U.S., securing $500 million in aid. Ahmed, wary, wonders, is peace possible, or just a pause? New York UN General Assembly, November 1974, at the UN. Yasser Arafat, PLO leader, steps to the podium, olive branch in one hand, gun in the other. "I dream of peace, but I fight for freedom," he declares. The first Palestinian to address the assembly, Layla, listening on a crackling radio in Sidon, cheers. The UN grants the PLO observer status, a diplomatic victory. "The world sees us now," she tells Khalil. Israel condemns the speech, with Eben calling it a call to violence. Avi, reading of Arafat's address, feels a chill. "They're gaining ground," he tells Yossi. The U.S. vetoes UN resolutions demanding Israeli withdrawal, reinforcing its support. The Soviet Union backs the PLO, sending $100 million in aid to Arab states, by 1975. Beirut, Lebanon, May 1975. In Beirut, Layla joins a PLO rally, chanting for Palestine. The war's Arab gains inspire new recruits, but the occupation's grip tightens. In the West Bank, 100,000 Palestinians face curfews and arrests. Layla's cousin in Gaza writes of IDF raids, fueling her resolve. The PFLP launches a 1974 attack in Malat, Israel, killing 22 schoolchildren, prompting Israeli airstrikes on Lebanon, killing 60 civilians. Layla, digging through rubble, vows will never surrender. Lebanon's tensions rise as the PLO's presence sparks Christian-Muslim clashes, a prelude to civil war. Khalil, wounded in a raid, tells Layla, "Our fight moves the world." She nods, clutching a photo of Ramallah, her hope unbroken. A New Path by 1977, the Middle East stands at a crossroads. Avi, back in Tel Aviv, joins Miriam at a Peace Now rally, questioning the occupation's future. "We can't keep fighting forever," he admits. In Cairo, Ahmed prepares for peace talks, as Sadat plans his historic Jerusalem visit. In Nazareth, Samira teaches her students resilience, hiding PLO flyers from censors. And in Beirut, Layla trains new fighters, her eyes on Palestine. In the Yom Kippur War, costing 2,800 Israeli and 15,000 to 20,000 Arab lives, shatters Israel's invincibility and restores Arab pride. The oil embargo reshapes global economics, and the PLO's UN address elevates the Palestinian cause. Disengagement agreements, Sinai, Sinai too, and Golanese tensions, but don't resolve the conflict. The U.S. emerges as the key mediator with $3 billion in aid to Israel and Egypt by 1977. The stage is set for Camp David, a flicker of hope amid a land scarred by war. This is a story of shattered shields, defiant spirits, and a region seeking peace. Peace in Peril, 1978-1982. A Fragile Hope. The Middle East. 1978. The scars of the 1967 Six-Day War and the 1973 Yom Kippur War linger, etched into the land and its people. Israel, entrenched in the occupied territories, faces growing Palestinian resistance and regional hostility. Egypt, under Anwar Sadat, dares to seek peace, breaking decades of Arab unity against Israel. In Lebanon, the PLO rebuilds, launching attacks from a fractured nation on the brink of civil war. The United States, now the region's dominant mediator, pushes for diplomacy while Palestinian dreams of statehood burn brighter. This is the story of the Camp David Accords and the Lebanon War, a tale of bold peace, shattered dreams, and a land plunged into new violence. The road to Camp David, Cairo, Egypt. November 19, 1977, the streets of Cairo hum with anticipation as President Anwar Sadat steps off a plane in Jerusalem, the first Arab leader to visit Israel. Major Ahmed Fathi, now 41, watches the broadcast in a crowded cafe, his jaw tight. He's betraying the Arabs, a patron mutters, but Ahmed is torn. After the Yom Kippur War's costly gains, Sadat's promise of peace offers hope for Sinai's return. "If this brings our land back, it's worth it," Ahmed tells his friend, though doubt lingers. In Jerusalem, Prime Minister Menachem Begin, a hawkish former Irgun leader, greets Sadat at the Knesset. "Peace is possible," Sadat declares, offering recognition for Israel's withdrawal from Sinai. Begin, wary but pragmatic, nods. "We'll talk," he says, "but security comes first." In Tel Aviv, Captain Avi Cohen, 38, watches with his sister Miriam, now a peace, now activist. "This could change everything," Miriam says, eyes bright. Avi, stationed in the West Bank, is skeptical. "Talk is cheap," he replies, thinking of the 50 settlements now housing 10,000 Israelis. At Camp David, Maryland, in September 1978, U.S. President Jimmy Carter hosts Sadat and Begin. Ahmed, now a colonel, reads of the talks in Cairo, where crowds chant for Sinai. The accords produce two frameworks: peace between Egypt and Israel, and Palestinian autonomy in the West Bank and Gaza. Ahmed hopes for stability, but the autonomy plan's vagueness troubles him. "What about Palestine?" he asks his wife Aisha. She shrugs. "Sadat's saving Egypt, not them." Nazareth, Israel, September 1978, in Nazareth. Samira, 35, teaches history to Palestinian students. Her classroom adorned with maps of pre-1948 Palestine. The Accords spark outrage among her community, now 350,000 strong. Sadat sold us out, Rami, her Raqqa comrade, says at a protest. The autonomy plan, promising limited self-rule, excludes statehood and the right of return. Samira joins a march in Jerusalem, chanting, "No peace without Palestine." IDF soldiers fire tear gas, and Samira's eyes burn as she helps a student to safety. At home, Samira reads Arafat's condemnation of the Accords. The PLO, now a global force, rejects the deal, demanding full sovereignty. "They're talking over our heads," Samira tells Rami, hiding PLO flyers from censors. In the West Bank, protests flare, with 200,000 Palestinians facing tighter IDF controls. Settlements grow, with 15,000 settlers by 1979, seizing land near Nablus. Samira's cousin loses his farm, fueling her resolve. "We'll fight our way," she vows. Washington, D.C., March 26, 1979. The White House lawn glows under spring sunlight as Sadat and begins sign the Egypt-Israel peace treaty. Carter beams, announcing peace in the Middle East. Israel agrees to withdraw from Sinai by 1982, and Egypt offers full diplomatic relations. The U.S. pledges $1.3 billion annually to Egypt and $3 billion to Israel. Ahmed, watching in Cairo, feels pride as Sinai's return begins, but Arab League sanctions isolate Egypt. "They call us traitors," he tells Aisha, "but we're free." In Israel, Avi patrols Sinai as the withdrawal starts. Oil fields return to Egypt. "Peace with Egypt," he tells Yossi, "but what about the others?" Miriam, at a Peace Now rally, celebrates but warns, "Without Palestinian rights, this is half a peace." The Arab world, led by Syria and the PLO, suspends Egypt from the Arab League, branding Sadat a betrayer. In Damascus, Colonel Mustafa fumes, "Sadat's left us to fight alone." The Lebanon Tinderbox Sidon, Lebanon, June 1980, in Lebanon Sidon camp. Layla Hassan, 29, trains with the PLO, now 15,000 strong in Fatalin. The 1975 Lebanese Civil War has fractured the country, pitting Muslims against Christians, with the PLO allied to leftist factions. Layla, hardened by years of raids, fires rockets into Israel's Galilee, killing 6 civilians in 1979. "This is for our homes," she tells Halil, her Fatah comrade. Israel retaliates, bombing Sidon, killing 50. Layla digs through rubble, finding a child's doll, her resolve unshaken. "We'll keep fighting," she says. The PLO's presence sparks Lebanese resentment, especially among Maronite Christians. In Beirut, Layla hears of clashes between PLO and Falangist militias. Khalil warns, "Lebanon's a trap, but it's our base." The PLO's attacks 200 from 1978 to 1982, killing 29 Israelis, prompt Israeli airstrikes, killing 400 civilians. Layla, dodging shrapnel, knows the cost, but believes the world hears us now. Jerusalem, Israel, June 1981, Avi, now a major. Briefs begin on the PLO threat. "They're shelling our north," he says, pointing to a map. Begin, emboldened by the Egypt Treaty, approves escalation. Defense Minister Ariel Sharon, a bulldog of ambition, pushes for invasion. "We'll crush the PLO," Sharon declares. Avi, stationed in the Galilee, sees rocket scars on Kibbutz Sim. "They won't stop," he tells Miriam, who protests. "War won't solve this." Israel's occupation deepens, with 20,000 settlers and 70 West Bank settlements by 1982 in Hebron. Avi oversees checkpoints facing Palestinian stone throwers. "This isn't what I fought for," he admits to Yossi, haunted by civilian arrests. Miriam joins a rally against settlements, chanting "Land for Peace." Begin dismisses them, saying Judea and Samaria are ours forever. Damascus, Syria, July 1981. In Damascus, Colonel Mustafa, now 40, meets with PLO leaders, pledging Syrian support. "Lebanon's your front," he tells them, delivering Soviet RPGs. Syria, still stinging from the Golan's loss, backs the PLO to weaken Israel. Mustafa hears of Israel's bombing of Iraq's Acerric reactor, a bold strike. "They're untouchable," he mutters, but vows will arm the Palestinians. Syria's 100,000-strong army, equipped with T-72 tanks, prepares for future conflict. Mustafa visits a Palestinian camp, seeing children train with rifles. "There are hope," a PFLP fighter says. Israel's airstrikes on Damascus kill 20, fueling Mustafa's anger. "We'll fight through Lebanon," he resolves. The Lebanon War. Beirut, Lebanon, June 6, 1982. The Galilee burns under Plow rockets. And Israel launches Operation Peace for Galilee. Avi, leading an IDF unit, crosses into Lebanon with 80,000 troops. Tanks rumble through Sidon, where Layla hides in a basement clutching her rifle. "They're coming for us," she tells Khalil. Shh. The IDF advances to Beirut, besieging the city by July. Layla fights in alleyways, but the PLO is outmatched, losing 1,000 fighters. A V's unit surrounds Beirut, cutting off supplies. "We'll end the Plow here," Sharon tells commanders. By August, a U.S. brokered deal forces the PLO's evacuation to Tunisia, with 14,000 fighters leaving. Layla boards a ship, tears streaming. "We'll return," she vows to Khalil, who stays to fight. The war kills 17,000 to 20,000 Lebanese and Palestinians, 675 Israelis, and displaces 500,000. Sabra and Shatila. September 1982, in Beirut, the Sabra and Shatila massacre unfolds. Christian phalangists, allied with Israel, enter the camps under IDF oversight, killing 2,000 to 3,500 Palestinian civilians. Layla, in Tunisia, hears the news on a crackling radio, collapsing in grief. "They slaughtered our people," she sobs. Avi, near the camps, sees smoke rise and feels sick. "We didn't stop this," he tells Yossi, guilt-heavy. In Israel, 400,000 protest in Tel Aviv, Miriam among them, chanting, "Sharon must go." The 1983 Kahan Commission holds Sharon indirectly responsible. Forcing his resignation as defense minister, Avi, shaken, questions his role. "What are we becoming?" He asks Miriam, who hands him a peace now flyer. "We need to change," she says. Cairo, October 1981. Ahmed, now a general, mourns Sadat's assassination by Islamist extremists, angered by the peace treaty. "He gave us Sinai," he tells Ahisha, "but at what cost?" Egypt, restored to the Arab League by 1989. It faces isolation but thrives on $1.3 billion in U.S. aid. Ahmed oversees Sinai's return, completed in 1982, but worries about Palestinians. "Their fight continues," he says. In Damascus, Mustafa condemns the treaty, arming Hezbollah, a new Shia militia in Lebanon, backed by Iran. The PLO's gone, but Hezbollah rises, he tells aides. The war empowers Hezbollah, setting the stage for future conflicts. A fractured land by 1982, the Middle East is transformed. Avi in Jerusalem joins Miriam at a peace rally, haunted by Sabra and Shatila. "We need a real peace," he says, rifle retired. In Tunisia, Layla rebuilds the Plow, her voice global, but her heart in Palestine. "We're not defeated," she tells recruits. In Nazareth, Samira teaches resistance, hiding Arafat's speeches. "Our story isn't over," she tells Rami. In Cairo, Ahmed guards Sinai, hoping for stability. The Camp David Accords secure Egypt's peace, returning Sinai, but sidelining Palestinians. With 200,000 in the West Bank facing tighter occupation.
From 1967 to 1982, the Arab-Israeli conflict was forged in war and fragile peace. Israel's occupation spurred resistance and the rise of the PLO, while the Yom Kippur War shattered illusions, leading to Egypt's historic Camp David Accords. The Lebanon War exposed the costs of intervention and birthed new forces like Hezbollah. Join me for Chapter 7, where we explore the Intifada, Oslo Accords, and the enduring quest for peace. See you in the next chapter.